Imagine hating a group of people so much that you trust them to watch your children. Let's talk about the twisted mindset that it takes to support racism. Because it isn't just about ignorance, it's also hypocrisy. If black people were lazy, dangerous, and less than human like they like to claim, then why were we trusted to cook the food? Why were we trusted to raise the babies? Why were we trusted to clean homes, tend the land, and nurse the sick? You don't put your life and your legacy in the hands of somebody that you think is beneath you. You only do that when you know the truth. We were never inferior. That lie had to be built to justify the exploitation, to make people feel comfortable for stealing labor, culture, and dignity. See, racism isn't just hate, it's entitlement. It's using someone, depending on them, then turning around and denying their humanity. It's a system where you benefit from somebody else's excellence and then blame them for being a problem. My only question is, if it ain't hypocrisy, then what is it? Tell me, how do you heal a country that won't admit the truth? And tag somebody who needs to hear it. Let's talk about it.
Hello guys, welcome back to this very channel, and actually today we are actually getting a very powerful insight from our black sister about white supremacy, and she has actually explained in a mesmerizing way. She have actually left me emotional, and I want us to dive in and listen keenly to what she's saying, because I believe that she's actually delivering something very powerful. If you're watching us for the first time, please don't forget to subscribe, and don't forget to give your opinion in the comment section. Keep the conversation going in the comment section, and thanks to those who are watching my videos. And let's listen to this powerful episode about white supremacists. Let's dive in.
Every time black progress happens, America always pulls the rug. And this ain't new. We had Reconstruction. Then came Jim Crow. We had the Civil Rights Movement. Then came Nixon's war on black communities. And we got Obama. And then came Trump. Do you see the pattern? This country never gave up on racism. It just evolved it, coded it, tucked it behind slogans like states' rights and law and order. And now that Trump is back in power the second time, they don't even bother with the code anymore because they don't have to. And then some of you are shocked. But this is how white supremacy always responds to black excellence, with backlash. Every time we rise, they always retaliate. Keep in mind, history keeps receipts. You see the pattern? Because I know I do.
So one of their favorite arguments for white supremacy's existence is, but slavery. And I'm just going to clear it up now. Slavery was not supremacy. It was fragile men with whips. If you have to chain a people, steal their language, brand their bodies, and pass laws to make them less than, that's not supremacy. I'm just clearing that up now. It's spiritual terror management, because you don't enslave what you think is beneath you. You enslave what frightens you into silence if left free. Slavery is not proof of white dominance. It's proof of white dependence on stolen labor, on extracted brilliance, on a total surveillance. If white supremacy were real, right? If it were real, I just want y'all to lock in. If white supremacy were real, the moment slavery were ended, so would the fear. But what really happened? It mutated in the black codes, in the lynch mobs, in the redlining, in the mass incarceration. That is not supremacy. That is generational panic dressed up in all your favorite legal language. And let's go to all the arguments, because I truly want you to understand. Jim Crow also is not power. It's a performance. Segregation wasn't about pride. It was about containment. Water fountains, bus seats, lunch counters, all that. None of that was to elevate whiteness. It was to protect it from proximity to things it couldn't have, to keep it from dissolving in the presence of uncolonized joy. It took armies of laws to maintain the illusion of white supremacy. That's how fraudulent it is, because the lie cannot walk unassisted. Jim Crow is not a monument to white strength at all. It is a crutch for a collapsing myth. Let's go some more. Let's talk about the GI Bill. Because they say, but we gave veterans a future. Unless, cool, you can even imagine that. Because they gave veterans a future unless you were black, unless you were indigenous, unless you were part of the very machine that bled for freedom you never received. Right. I just want to say that because white veterans got homes, education, lands. You know what black veterans got? They got surveillance, denial, firebombs in their neighborhoods. So what did supremacy do when black bodies served it with honor? It shut the door in their face. That's still not supremacy. It's a grift. Right? That's all a grift, sealed in policy. See, you got to think about it. Because never in your life, never in history has anyone ever encountered this thing. Because if white supremacy was so powerful, why did they flinch at a bus boycott? Why did it suppress a sermon? Why did it panic at a sit-in? Right? Because deep down, you know it, I know it, we all know it. The spell was already breaking. You needed armies, dogs, hoses, and assassins just to stop a song and dignity. And you still lost. I just want to clear that up. You still lost. Supremacy that collapses when a child sings freedom is barely supreme. Barely. It was a curtain held up by the fear. By fear, that's all it is. I wanna address a comment. Museums are literally cemeteries. Literally. Cemeteries with a gift shop. That's all it is. You call it heritage, you call it pride, but a museum full of stolen gods isn't history. It isn't. You know what we could call it? It's just a hostage situation. It's a hostage display. You looted entire civilizations, then put their brilliance in glass and called that civilization. I'm just saying that's insane. That none of that is evidence of superiority. I don't even want to call it. It's cultural burglary. It's cultural burglary framed as enlightenment. So I want you to sit with this, especially about the museums, because all of them are global graveyards. Because white supremacy cannot create the sacred. It couldn't create the sacred. It only possesses it. So I want y'all to sit with it like this. Because this shit is hilarious. It is conceptually once you really sit there and think about it. If the United States and white supremacy claim to be wrong, then blackness is the man carrying the cross on his back, not because he was conquered, but because they needed someone sacred to crucify in public. And that's not empire. That's not even what you've achieved. You haven't even achieved empire. That's how tough the situation is for you. Can't cap. It's performance theology with blood smeared on its very lens that's recording. Slavery was a horror script and Jim Crow was the stage set. And the GI Bill, it got to be your favorite bait and switch. The civil rights backlash, that was a temper tantrum. That was the meltdown. The museums are the credits of the movie that you didn't even write. You ain't even write it. I want to pick a new name for white supremacy. New name. Because I want people to understand it and be able to see it beautifully. It is the longest running identity crisis the world has ever seen. It is the longest running crisis of identity the world has ever seen. Ever. And it doesn't even end with applause. It just ends with the mirror shatters. I'm just saying, we can pull the plug on this one. There's a lot of things we fighting that are real. That is not real.
Racism is about jealousy. If you think that's a reductive statement, please stick with me. When I say jealousy, I'm talking about insecurity, which is really what jealousy is, but I think it's easier to understand if I say insecurity rather than just jealousy. Because we know from appropriation that we are very jealous of other cultures. Why would we want to listen to the music, eat the food, wear the clothes, do the hairstyles, have everything, the language, but not give credit where credit is due and not uplift the people who created it? White people are so lost in feeling like they don't have a connection to culture, especially many of us who are very far removed from our European roots. And I think the need to fill that space and that insecurity of this lack of culture and lack of something to call our own is often filled with cultural appropriation and the idea that being white is superior. I was first introduced to this concept of racism being jealousy in college, and I can't trace it back to one particular scholar, but I would like to give credit where credit is due to that Black scholar. If you can find anything tracing it to one particular person, please leave that in the comments. I think it's important to think about racism in this way if we want to unlearn it. Because as some people say who are non-monogamous, or anyone who's just working on their relationships, jealousy is an indicator that something is not quite right with us. It's an indicator of our insecurity and how we might be feeling. It's not about what our partner is doing or what someone on Instagram is doing with their life that makes us feel inadequate. It's about something going on inside. And I think we really need to interrogate that. What is it about people of color showing excellence, people of color maybe being more in touch with culture, people of color being more in touch with the environment, people of color making better food, and everything else that we envy? What does that trigger in us? And why do we have the need to put those people down? It's about jealousy. And if we can figure out that we're feeling that way and trace that feeling back to maybe some of our unconscious biases, I think it's a lot easier to start thinking about, how can we unlearn that? How can I feel secure in my identity as a white person who has roots in maybe Italian and like other cultures, but like doesn't really feel connected to anything? How can I feel secure in myself to not want to put others down, whether that be racism or any other form of discrimination, or just plain hating on another woman because she's amazing? You know, I think this makes it seem like racism is very simple, but it also just helps us frame it in a way that's accessible to us. We know that dismantling racism starts with individual work, and personal growth is all about thinking about the hard things about yourself and the things and parts of yourself that you don't like. And jealousy is one of those things. No one wants to be jealous. It's an awful, awful feeling. And we don't want to admit that we're jealous. And we shy away from that, but it's something we can interrogate, and I think that is going to help us go a long way. Anyway, just my thoughts. Happy Juneteenth. I hopefully will speak about this more coherently in the future. Yeah, Black Lives Matter.